Hey, welcome back to Emotional Mojo. So you remember as kids we were told never to talk to strangers.
Of course.
And we probably say it to our own children, right? Well, apparently we've been doing it all wrong because our next guest tells us we shouldn't be afraid of strangers necessarily, okay? Jeff Griesemer from the Child Rescue Network joins us now. Thank you so much for being here, Jeff.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
And tell us what you mean. I mean, why don't we want our kids to learn to ignore, even fear strangers?
Well, stranger dangers is one of those messages that was created with the best of intentions.
Yeah.
But it is pretty much flawed in every step of the way. First and foremost, 93%. 93% of kids that are victimized by someone they know.
Yep. Yeah, that's true.
The stranger in the park, I mean, it does happen.
Yeah.
We know it does. So
But it's not as common.
Yeah, it's not as common. And what we want to really do is empower kids to make good decisions, whether they're talking to a stranger or a familiar face.
So there shouldn't be a blanket rule then,
Exactly.
I guess you're saying.
Exactly.
Because how could that be a negative thing if our kids are scared of strangers?
Well, as I said, it's not the stranger who normally is going to be victimizing that child, 97 or 93% of the time.
But what about abductions? I mean, aren't those usually strangers that abduct children?
Many times they are. Many
Okay.
times they are. But that stranger abduction off the street is really pretty rare.
Yeah.
It does happen. We know it does, but
Okay.
it's not that common.
So my kids are in martial arts right now. They're 4 and 6. Okay, adorable.
Sure.
And they're learning, like when someone grabs them and they learn this, they learn to, how to block them, and they say, "Don't touch me, stranger. You're a stranger. You're not my mom. You're not my dad. Help, help."
Right.
So that's like the little thing that they yell in class.
Sure,
so
sure.
they've been taught this, and I think that's good because it is the actual touching, though.
Absolutely, and kids need to know how to physically get away from danger if at all possible. But what we want to do is help them with the knowledge and the skill sets so they don't find themselves in those situations.
Okay.
And what if they needed help, if something happened and all they have is a stranger to ask for help, but they're too scared?
Indeed.
And
Very
that's
true.
not a bad thing.
I mean, the fact is most people are good.
Yeah.
Most people would do anything they could to help a child that needed somebody. And it's tragic that a child would be too scared to go ask somebody for help just because they've been told stranger
What
danger.
actually are you teaching
So what
the
should you do?
children?
Yeah.
We're teaching empowerment, not fear.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, as a parent, you're going to do everything you can to isolate your kids from harm, protect them. You can't.
Yeah.
They have to be able to make their own decisions. So let's give them all the knowledge, let's give them all the skill sets they need to help them make the best decisions possible.
So tell us a little bit about the Child Rescue Network. What is it, and how does it help lower the number of children being victimized?
We're a nonprofit organization, and we go out in the community and educate parents. We go into churches and PTAs and moms clubs, wherever we can gather parents together and really teach them this concept of getting away from scaring our kids. Let's empower our kids to help them make the best decisions.
So it's really the prevention more
Absolutely.
than...
Yes, indeed, indeed.
Right.
I mean, that's the whole key,
Right.
is lowering the numbers of kids being victimized. It's 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually victimized by the time they're 18 years
That
old.
is terrifying.
That is.
It really
It's
is.
terrifying.
Indeed.
And
it doesn't
another-
have to be that way.
Yeah, and another huge issue, human trafficking. I don't think people realize it has really become a growing problem in our country.
Yeah, you don't think
Right.
about it as happening here.
And it does. I mean, what's being done to try and stop it?
Well, there's a lot of organizations. I mean, here in town, we have the Greater Orlando Human Trafficking Task Force, which Child Rescue Network is a part of. A big key of this is raising awareness.
Right.
Letting people know that it's not third world countries, it's small towns, it's big cities, it's happening right here.
You know, it's interesting because I work with adolescent girls, and one of the things that is happening is they're being deceived by their counterparts, meaning young boys. So they're being manipulated into areas. And so that's one of the things I teach them is to be very much aware of who they're connecting to.
Indeed.
And I guess it's more of not being such a reactive society, as you say, where we should be more of a proactive
Well,
society. What does that
if we're
mean?
ever going to change things, we've got to change the way we do it. We have to think. We have to get out ahead of these things and teach our kids how to recognize potentially dangerous situations and how to react when necessary. And again, empowering our kids with the knowledge and the skill sets they need.
So if someone wants to get involved, what can they do?
Oh, we love volunteers.
Please, nonprofit.
Yeah, I mean, and all of our programs are free, so we're always looking for those donations and sponsorships. But childrescuenetwork.org, you can go on to that. There's lots of ways to volunteer and get involved, and we don't charge our parents. We don't charge anything for we do photo ID cards. We do, we don't charge for that. We do these seminars. We don't charge for that. We help search for missing kids. It's all done free of charge.
And you guys have some tips, I believe we have on a graphic, some tips to protect your kids from being
Certainly.
abducted. I mean, the first one you say is to update a photo of your child on your phone.
Yes. Single most important tool you need if a child's missing is an up-to-date photograph that is immediately available.
You know what I do when I go to a theme park or something? I will take a picture of them that day because they're
right.
wearing that same shirt, and like he's
Yeah.
wearing this yellow shirt. How
Yeah.
you know?
And use that tool, whenever. I mean,
Yeah.
crowded mall or a theme park
Yeah.
or a fair or festival.
Yeah.
Just pull out that camera phone, take that picture. You've got what they're
Yeah.
wearing that day, which is the first question we asked.
Exactly.
Right.
And kids
I don't
need to
remember.
know their address and their phone number too. I mean, this is
Indeed.
something.
Yes.
If they get
Yes.
confused, I mean,
That's
They need to
something
be
else
able-
my children are learning in martial arts.
good for you. High
The martial
five.
arts is a great tool. It's one of those things, because one of the things we preach about is building confidence in our kids.
Yeah.
Teaching them about personal boundaries and how to react when boundaries are crossed. And probably most importantly is those open lines of communication within a family so that parents are talking to their kids and more importantly, listening to
Right.
their
Yeah.
kids each and every day.
And if your kid does get lost, what are you supposed to tell them to do?
Well, in a situation like you're at a fair or festival or a theme park or a crowded mall, kids get distracted, parents get distracted, you get separated.
Yeah.
That's a potentially dangerous situation. So we play the freeze game. Child simply stops where they are, stay put, they don't go anywhere with anybody. What that does is two things. One, you aren't walking around opposite directions looking for one another.
Yeah.
And what it really does, it empowers that child to not have to try to figure out who's a good person, who's not.
Right.
And if
That's
that
a lot
guy
of
walks
stress
up,
on a
yeah,
kid.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And this gives them an action plan. They don't have to be afraid. They know exactly what they do. I play the freeze game. I wait for you to come back and get me.
Good plan. I love that.
Wow.
Well, and if you have somebody with a fake $5 badge,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. I'm not
Yeah.
going with you.
What's the family code word? How is that used?
This is a great tool again. The idea is to empower kids to make good decisions.
Okay.
So at some point in your life, you're probably going to have a situation where you need to send somebody else to pick up your child.
Okay.
Maybe there's been an emergency.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they may
So-
not be on the list that you give to,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So, you send a neighbor or someone to pick up your child. Well, your child doesn't know, is this a good person or not? It's a scenario this. Your child's walking home from school and a car pulls up and there's a guy from down the street that they kind of recognize.
Sure.
And they say, your mom's been in an accident. Your dad's asked me to come get you, hop in.
My worst nightmare.
What's the code word?
What's the code word? I
If
love
you know the
that.
code word, I
Yeah.
know mom and dad sent you,
Yep.
so I can get in. If you don't, I'm gone.
Yeah.
So it empowers kids to make
Yeah.
good decisions.
I mean,
I-
or
I
at the
need a
very
code word.
least, they would know that at some point, like, we were close enough that I shared the code word with them, If
Right.
something did happen and I was away.
Yeah, exactly.
So, wow.
Exactly.
And then trusting your gut. I don't think people give enough recognition to kids to trust their own gut.
Yeah.
And they kind of know when something's a little fishy.
We all have that. We all have that feeling of something's not quite right. Kids have it too. We need to encourage that so that
Yeah.
if they feel something's not the way it should be, get out of that situation.
Yeah.
That can mean a huge difference.
I remember that came into play for me once, and I was in middle school walking home, and a car pulled up, and it was a group of people, and they had a leash, and they were like, our dog went missing. Do you want to help us go look for him? And at the time, I said no
Wow.
because I was in a hurry, but as I got older, I mean, it still gives me chills to
Yeah.
think, what if I had said, oh, okay, a puppy,
Yeah.
Right.
And that's such a
It's
common
so
lure.
scary.
That is such a common lure.
Really?
Well, think of it. Kids love to help.
Yeah.
I mean, they love to help. And so if someone's asking them to help, that makes them feel good.
Yeah.
And so we need to instruct kids that what we tell parents is have a list of maybe 5 people
Okay.
that you trust completely. Anybody else, ask your child to do something, there's only one answer. I have to check first.
Perfect.
It doesn't matter whether it's Aunt Sally baking cookies or Uncle Bill going to the arcade or
Yeah.
that guy in the park looking for his lost puppy. You're on the
gotta-
list.
I gotta
have
check.
to check
Right.
first.
Great
Jeff,
information.
thank you so
Wow.
much. I mean, really invaluable stuff that people need to know. So if you guys want more info, by the way, you can visit childrescuenetwork.org, like he mentioned, and take a look at that and get involved with the organization too, if you'd like. I'm sure you
We'd
guys
love
could
that.
definitely
We'd love
use it,
that.
right?
Yeah.